At this point, we have a basic understanding of how to do legal analysis using statutory or regulatory authorities, and using case authorities. And we've talked about how to synthesize the rule that we'll use for our analysis when there are several authorities that all address the same issue from slightly different angles. So now let's discuss some of the different types of analysis that we can do with these rules, and how we should organize our memos for each of these types of analysis. And generally, the type of analysis we want to do depends on the type of rule that we have. So in this video, let's talk about the first kind of analysis. The first kind of analysis is called an elements analysis. An elements analysis. All right, this is what we do when our rule is an elements test. This is something that we've already seen in our examples so far. The elements test is the classic rule. It's where you have several components or elements, and all of these elements must be satisfied to satisfy the overall rule. So, for example, we saw in the 3-star eco-car problem that to be a 3-star eco-car, a vehicle must be a car. It must be at least partially powered by electricity, and it must get at least 30 miles per gallon. Each and every one of these elements must be satisfied for a vehicle to be considered a 3-star eco-car under the law. And we discussed that elements are sometimes in the conjunctive, which means that all of the elements must be satisfied, or sometimes the elements test is in the disjunctive, which means that only one of the elements must be satisfied to satisfy the overall rule. And the only way to know whether elements are in the conjunctive or the disjunctive is to look at the language of the statute or regulation. Does it say that elements A, B, and C must be met? If so, the test is in the conjunctive, right? Just like the 3-star eco-car problem. All three of them must be satisfied. Or does the elements test say that elements A, B, or C must be met? If so, only one of them must be satisfied to satisfy the overall rule. Now, when our rule is an elements test, we just organize our memo in the way that we've done it in the examples so far. All right, so we follow the IRAC formula. Give the issue the rule. And then when we get to the analysis part of our memo, the A in IRAC, we write a separate heading for each element. Element A, element B, and element C, right? Or however many elements you have. And then we analyze each element individually using the IRAC formula for each one. So each element gets its own sub-IRAC. Okay, and then we give our conclusion. After that, we can give our conclusion. Now, it's important to realize that we need to do this, breaking out the elements and giving a sub-IRAC for each one. We need to do this whether our elements test is in the conjunctive or the disjunctive. Sometimes when an elements test is in the disjunctive, people conclude that one of the elements is satisfied. Okay? They conclude that one of the elements is satisfied, and then they just stop because they figure, well, only one element is required because the test is in the disjunctive, and I've found one element that has been met, so I don't need to analyze any of the others. Well, that would be a mistake. That would be a mistake for a couple of reasons. First, legal analysis by its nature is complete. That means that it addresses every relevant element or sub-issue. Now, this helps the reader understand the whole story. And importantly, this is what your reader will be expecting. An attorney reading your memo will not be happy if you say, well, I know the rule has several other elements, but you don't have to know about those. The element I'm talking about resolves the whole thing. Just take my word for it. You don't have to know about the other elements. An attorney will not be happy if that's the way you write your analysis. Now, the second reason you need to analyze every element is that you never know how a court will end up resolving an issue. One of the elements may seem like a slam dunk to you, but the court may not be so convinced. Maybe there's something you missed, or maybe you just flat out made a mistake. You can't leave out analysis for some elements just because you think another element will resolve the issue. To be safe, you need to address all of them. Now, this is also true when our test is in the conjunctive. When our test is in the conjunctive, sometimes people will do something very similar. If the test is in the conjunctive, then all of the elements must be satisfied to satisfy the overall rule. So sometimes people will break out the elements and then figure out that one of the elements is not satisfied and conclude that, say, element B is not satisfied. Now, because the test is in the conjunctive and all three must be satisfied, people will sometimes say, well, element B is not satisfied, so there's no point in analyzing element C, or really doing element A for that matter. I should just start with element B, conclude that it's not satisfied, and then I'll be done. Again, that would be a mistake for the same reasons that I said before. First of all, legal writing, legal analysis, by its nature, needs to be complete to give the whole story to the reader. And again, you never know how a court is going to resolve an issue. One of the elements may seem like a slam dunk. It might seem clear to you that element B is not satisfied, but the court may not be so convinced. So regardless of whether an elements test is in the conjunctive or the disjunctive, we need to do this, breakout of the elements and analyze each one using the IRAC formula.